Hello again. You're watching today on ENCA DSTV 403. Now, the Special Tribunal has dismissed an application by Hamilton Ndlovu to stop further legal action against him. The SIU is trying to recoup 172 million rand from the businessman. It's alleged that he was fraudulently awarded a tender to supply personal protective equipment, or PPE for short. ENC's Ndlovu Mchunu is following this story for us and is joining us now for the latest. Ndlovu, good afternoon. I mean, many people might have forgotten about this case. Can you just begin here? Hamilton Ndlovu, where is this PPE tender of 172 million that you got? Where does the story begin?
Well, but then I think many of us will remember the video that was posted by Hamilton Ndlovu just last year after purchasing 5 vehicles in one day. Among them include, of course, Porsche cars, as well as, we saw Lamborghinis that he was flaunting at the time on social media, on Instagram. And of course, days after that, he then apologized, saying that those were in poor taste, given the fact that many of the people in South Africa were facing a difficult time due to COVID-19. But of course, that didn't stop the receiver of revenue, SARS, from actually investigating his finances. And from that, we do understand that he was slapped with a 36 million rand tax bill by SARS for tax evasion with regards to those contracts that were awarded to him. And these are contracts worth 172 million rand worth of contracts that he got from the National Health Laboratory Services in 2020. And so our understanding so far is that these contracts were awarded between March and April of 2022. About 8 companies that are linked to Hamilton Ndlovu. And just to look at those figures, Britain, we do know that about 7.2 million rand was paid on the 31st of March in 2020 to Hamilton Holdings, as well as 17.4 million rand on the 24th of April that was paid to Abombeta, which is another company that has been linked to Hamilton Ndlovu. But beyond that, there was also another payment of 7.2 million rand that was made on the 24th, and another one of 17.8 million rand that was paid on the 29th to Mock Plus One, which has also been linked to Hamilton Ndlovu. And the court earlier on finding that these companies were mere fronts and that they were used in by Hamilton Ndlovu to gain access to those funds. And you recall, Britain, that earlier during this year, the South African Receiver of Revenue, SARS, did manage to obtain a preservation order, essentially freezing some of those assets that belonged to Hamilton Ndlovu, including cash, his properties, as well as cars, to the tune of about 103 million rand. And following that preservation order, a curator was then appointed to manage his finances. But what Hamilton Ndlovu is saying now before the Special Tribunal Court is that, in fact, the curator that was appointed to deal with his finances has not made enough money for him to actually oppose another application by the SIU as well as the National Health Laboratory Services, which is expected to take place in March. And this application in particular is to try and recoup some of that money that was awarded in that contract. We do understand that they want this particular contract set aside. And so by virtue of it being set aside, Hamilton Ndlovu will then have to recoup or cough up that money that was paid through those illegal contracts. But of course, he says that he doesn't have enough money to deal or to prepare himself for that hearing in March. And therefore, he feels that he will be prejudiced if at all that matter does continue in March if he does not have his hands on those assets. Essentially, what these preservation orders are is that they have stopped him or blocked him from deposing of any of the assets, from deposing of any of the money from those proceeds that he received through those illegal contracts. But also, Pratani, recall that the SIU itself, as well as the National Health Laboratory Services, have also been able to obtain a second preservation order, which is also to freeze some of his assets to the tune of 42 million rand. But as things stand, what the court says is that Hamilton Ndlovu has not been forthcoming with regards to his finances, has not been honest with regards to some of his finances. We do understand that about 152 million rand was paid to Hamilton Ndlovu for his personal use, but of that amount, only 103 million rand has been preserved by both SARS and the SIU. But what happened to the rest of the money, the 50 million rand, that is still unknown at this particular point. It's money that's still unaccounted for, and we do understand that there was a withdrawal of 15 million rand that was made to that cash, which was withdrawn through ATMs and other cash mechanisms. But the court saying that the fact that Hamilton Ndlovu has not fully disclosed his finances, that's one of the reasons why it does not believe that he will be prejudiced, if at all, that review application by the SIU and the National Health Laboratory does go ahead in March.